professional speaker to share with us the overall situation of living donation in Europe. So please, Beatriz, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Daniel, and thanks to the EKP for organizing a webinar and particularly for launching such an important project as the FAIR project. So I'm going to share my screen. Please confirm that you can see the slides, okay? Gregory, you see it well?
Yes,
oh,
perfect.
So in the next few minutes, I'm going to very briefly try to talk about them, talk about who are live kidney donors and what's the number of live kidney donors we are managing in Europe for us to have an idea of the extent of the problems or the issues that we're going to be reviewing today. So let me start first with a little bit of the global data. These are data from the Global Observatory on Donation and Transplantation, the GODT, that provides every year estimates about the global activity. So for 2022, we know that there were more than 100,000 kidney transplants carried out in the world, and 39% of these kidneys they are from a live individual. So at a minimum, there were 40,000 persons who donated a kidney in the world in the year 2022. And this is very likely an underestimation of the true reality. What is the situation in Europe? Here, I'm not going to talk about the 27 EU member states, but about the entire European region, for which we have much more complete data, and in particular, we're balancing data from 43 countries. So in that same year, 2022, there were more than 25,000 kidney transplants carried out in Europe. This corresponds to a rate of 37 per million population, where you can see how about 88,000, 34% of them were obtained from a live person. So in Europe, there were more than 88,000 persons who donated a kidney during their lifetime. This is a really very impressive activity. It is also important to note that the contribution of live donation to the overall kidney transplantation activity is very variable across countries in Europe. So here you have countries in terms of the rates of kidney transplant per million population. In brackets, you have the number of kidney transplants, and in blue, you have deceased donors, and in yellow, live donors. So as we move to the right, to countries that have lower rates of kidney transplants, we see a predominance of live donors in yellow. As we move to the left, we will see a predominance of deceased donor kidney transplantation, with some exceptions. For example, the Netherlands or Israel, where the contribution of live donation is really very important to the overall kidney transplantation activity. And as it is the case of Turkey, where the majority of kidney transplants derive from a live organ donor. So here you have the most important message about the kidney transplantation activity in Europe and the contribution of live organ donors. Now, if we particularly focus on live organ donors in Europe, live kidney donors, here you have again the rate of kidney transplants from live organ donors per million population, with this very astonishing activity in Turkey, Israel, and the Netherlands in particular. And the dots represent the percentage of these kidney transplants that are obtained from a live organ donor, where you can see several countries in which that percentage is over 80%. And as we saw in the previous slide, several countries in which all kidney transplants are obtained from live organ donors. And a snapshot of how are these persons and some data from these persons, 53% of them are female. There is a predominance of women as live organ donors, and like kidney donors in particular. You can see how 16% are unrelated to their recipient, 6% have participated in kidney per exchange, and 3% have participated in a non-directed kidney donation. This means that there are emerging forms of kidney transplantation from live organ donors in Europe that might require special consideration when talking about medical, but also about psychosocial care of live kidney donors. Why do we have such an important development of live kidney transplantation in the world, and in particular in Europe? Well, in the very first place, because we need live organ donors to meet the transplantation needs of our patients. In Europe, in 2022 again, at least there were 110,000 patients who were active on the waiting list for a kidney transplant alone that year, of which you can see how just 1 out of 4 received the kidney transplant they actually needed. So live kidney donors really contribute very importantly to address the demand of kidneys for clinical use. On the other hand, we know that live kidney donors provide the best outcomes to the recipients. These are very self-explaining data from the US, where you can see how virtually all type of live kidney donors provide better results in terms of patient survival than deceased donor kidney transplantation, and of course than dialysis. They are also related to improved quality of life, to a lower cost compared to dialysis, and compared even to certain types of deceased donor kidney transplantation. So this is the best that we can offer to our recipients. But the different organizations, international organizations that have been working in the field of transplantation have been very clear. When we develop a kidney transplantation program from a live organ donor, the fundamental element is going to be donor protection and donor care. And as you will see in my next slides, this does not only entail aspects related to medical issues, but also aspects related to the psychosocial and work well-being of those individuals who donate an organ during their lifetime. For example, the World Health Assembly adopted this resolution 63.22 in the year 2010. This is the resolution in place right now from the World Health Assembly in the field of transplantation, where it urges member states to maximize this donation, to develop it to its maximum therapeutic potential, and acknowledging the relevance of live donation, ensuring appropriate healthcare services and long-term follow-up. So care for live donors becomes a standard according to the World Health Assembly. That resolution also allowed the World Health Assembly to provide some guiding principles applicable to live kidney transplantation and to live organ transplantation, where already we have some important elements that are outlined and highlighted by the World Health Assembly. The issue that preference should be given to related donors, that's what the World Health Assembly says. The importance of voluntary and unpaid donation, though the WHO acknowledges that unpaid donation does not preclude the reimbursement of reasonable and verifiable expenses incurred by the donor, including the loss of income. The importance of a scrupulous selection criteria that should, again, not only be medical, but also psychosocial, and we will talk about that afterwards. In the same line, emphasis is made on professional care, well-organized follow-up, and assessment of long-term outcomes. So you can see how responsibility for the person who donates an organ, a kidney, becomes the standard according to the World Health Organization. And the same applies to the Council of Europe, though the position of the Council of Europe towards live donation has been evolving over time. If we take a look to the Council of Europe Convention on Human Rights and Biomedicine, it is stated at the end of the previous century that the removal of organs from a living person for transplantation may be carried out solely for the therapeutic benefit of the recipient, and where there is no suitable organ available from a deceased person and no other alternative therapeutic method of comparable effectiveness. Evidently, the Council of Europe wanted to be extremely protective of live donors, but in time, the Council of Europe has become much more flexible in the approach to live organ donation, where with resolutions in which emphasis is made also in the autonomy and decision-making of the duly informed potential donor candidate. Last but not least, I want to make reference to this high-level meeting that took place in the Spanish presidency of the European Union just a few months ago in the city of Santander at the north of Spain, where participants to the summit provided several recommendations to decision-making bodies and to governments. And among the recommendations, they emphasize that governments need to progress towards sufficiency in transplantation by, among others, developing disease donation again as the priority source of organs for transplantation, but also developing living donation programs as long as they entail informed consent, optimal care, and long-term follow-up for donors. And moreover, the participants to the summit call governments to remove financial disincentives and promote the principle that donation should be a financially neutral act. So it did not only consider it acceptable to protect the donor from a economical and even working point of view, but it actually acknowledged this as a good practice in live organ donation. The EU has actually worked a lot in the field of live organ donors and particularly promoting the care and the welfare of the live organ donor. These are many of the projects that have been funded or co-funded by the European Union, and that have had a very important impact on the development of registries on the outcome, not only of transplant recipients, but also of live organ donors at a member state level, but at a pan-European level as well. With all this information, I think we can move forward. There has been many activities carried out by different international organizations, as you have seen, but more needs to be done to ensure that comprehensive protection of those persons who take the step forward of giving an organ and hence an opportunity to donate to another, to live a better life to another person. So with all this, I stop here, and I hope that has provided you